For over 40 years now, this really bizarre message has been literally baked into the asphalt of city streets all over the world.
And this is the message. This is the core of what are called the Toynbee Tiles, a sprawling, unsolved urban enigma that honestly captivated an entire generation of amateur sleuths.
So the big questions are, right? Who put these things here? How did they even do it? And what on earth does it all mean? Well, let's dive in and try to piece together the clues to one of the last great mysteries from before the internet.
So this whole thing really kicks off in the early 1980s, mostly in Philadelphia. People started noticing these strange plaques just appearing almost overnight, totally baffling anyone who happened to look down at the street.
Okay, so what are these tiles? Honestly, they're a work of low-tech genius. We're talking about pieces of linoleum backed with this asphalt compound, all wrapped up in tar paper. They were designed to be deployed in secret. The tiler would just drop one on the street, and the summer heat, plus the pressure from cars, would do the rest. It would slowly fuse the tile right into the pavement as the paper disintegrated. It's brilliant, really.
For decades, this was just a weird thing people saw on the street. It was a total mystery. Then, this small group of amateur sleuths, led by an artist from Philly named Justin Durr, they launched a serious investigation, which was all captured in this fantastic documentary called Resurrect Dead.
Their entire hunt really centered on three incredibly bizarre and what seemed to be completely disconnected pieces of evidence. An address found thousands of miles from home, a forgotten newspaper column, and a scene from a pretty famous play.
So the first clue was maybe the most direct lead they had. An address was found on a tile, all the way down in Santiago, Chile. But unbelievably, it led investigators right back to a specific house in South Philadelphia, and to this very reclusive man named Severino Sevy Verna.
All right, the second clue was like a ghost from the past. A local newspaper columnist had written about getting a call from a man named James Marasco, who was absolutely obsessed with colonizing Jupiter by resurrecting the dead. It was the exact same idea, but from years before the tiles really started popping up everywhere.
And then you have the third clue, which is just the weirdest of them all. The famous playwright David Mamet wrote this one-act play, and it features a nearly identical rant on a call-in radio show. When people asked him about it, Mamet swore up and down he just made the whole thing up. So strange.
But as all of these clues started to connect, this profile of a single, really obsessive creator began to take shape. And it all seemed to point back to that one house in South Philadelphia.
Yeah, the investigation, which you can see in that film, Resurrect Dead, it points overwhelmingly to one guy, Sevy Verna. He was a quiet, solitary person who lived at that address, and it's now pretty widely believed that James Marasco was just a name he was using.
But, the biggest question still remained. How in the world did he install hundreds of these tiles in super busy intersections without anyone ever seeing him? Well, the answer came from his old neighbors.
The leading theory is all about his car. See, it wasn't just for getting around. Neighbors remembered it having a hole in the floor. It was basically a simple but totally ingenious mobile workstation.
So the theory goes like this. He could just stop at a red light, drop a tile he had already prepared right through the hole in the floor, and then just drive off when the light turned green. He was completely hidden in plain sight. This one simple trick explains how he could have tiled the busiest highways and city centers without ever getting caught.
Okay, so with the who and the how most likely solved, what about the why? What is the Toynbee idea?
Well, when you start to break the message down, you find this really strange mix of ideas. Toynbee is a reference to a British historian, Arnold Toynbee, who actually wrote about reanimating dead molecules. The tiler apparently connected that idea to the journey to Jupiter and all the themes of rebirth you see in Stanley Kubrick's classic film 2001: A Space Odyssey.
But the message wasn't just about resurrection. A lot of the tiles had these paranoid side notes, rants against the media, who he called hellions, and all these conspiracies about journalists, the government, the mafia. There was even this one massive 3-foot-tall manifesto tile that detailed his belief that he was being persecuted for spreading his idea.
So what's the legacy of this whole project? In a way, the Toynbee tiles became this kind of analog message that went viral, long before the internet was even a thing.
For over 40 years, the tiles have somehow persisted, and even though the original creator is believed to have stopped making them in the early 2010s, his strange message has just completely embedded itself in urban lore.
And get this, he wasn't the only one. The original Tyler's work actually inspired a whole new generation of street artists, most notably the person behind the House of Hades tiles. They have a really similar style, but they focus on a different message: one person's fight against the media machine.
But here's the sad part. With every road that gets resurfaced, another piece of this unique urban mystery is just lost forever. In Philly, the streets department even tries to preserve them when they can, but honestly, it's a losing battle against time and asphalt.
And it really leaves us with a fascinating question, right? What idea is so important that it's worth dedicating your whole life to embedding it in the streets for other people to find? In our world of just endless, fleeting digital noise, there's something really powerful about a message